Here we go. Another week of experiencing Annie Wines Live. This is our opportunity every week to take 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes, depending on how long I talk, to dive into a single topic and how we can live the life we want to live, to be our true, authentic selves, and what we can do to shed away all those things that have been imposed on us by our preachers and our teachers and our parents along the way, so we can shed away that indoctrination and become who we were born to be. Because who you were born and who you will die as is the same person. And the goal is that we shed away all this other garbage, bullshit, whatever we want to call that, to become that perfect person you were the day you were born. So today we're going to be talking about the real part of reality. So we'll dive into what you can actually do to change your reality. But first, we're going to talk about gratitude. Practice of gratitude is something I've embraced really this last year. It goes back to when you seek out gratitude, you will see gratitude more often. And this week, I'm very grateful for Waste Advantage Magazine. Yes, a magazine, and the editor-in-chief there. I met her a couple months ago at a networking event. I went down to Chicago. We had a nice dinner with a couple of people from the waste industry. And I really didn't speak to her at all during the dinner. I was other end of the table. And at the end, they're having cocktails. I'm drinking my seltzer water, and I get to talking to her. And she said, "Oh, I know who you are. We'd love to do a story on you." Oh, that's excellent. Waste Advantage Magazine is a huge publication in the waste and recycling world, and that sounds very interesting. And so about a month ago or so, we had an interview, and I'm like, oh, they're going to feature me in a story. That's pretty cool. And then Monday morning, I get my monthly Waste Advantage Magazine via email. And all of a sudden, I'm right there. I'm the cover. I'm on the page. Like, I knew we sent a couple of pictures. I didn't realize it was going to be the cover story. So it's a cover story, and it's about a six-page spread in the magazine. And so I'm extremely grateful that a dinner that turned into a conversation has turned into me being on the cover of a magazine. I'm very fortunate. And on Monday morning, a good friend of mine up in Eau Claire got a magazine, took a picture, sent it to me. So here's a copy of the magazine, the cover of it. And I'm very grateful for that opportunity I've had to really grow within my craft. And on my LinkedIn post, I said, whatever you're doing in this world, do it better than you did the day before. Because I think about this journey over the last 16 years in junk removal, over the last 9 years here doing it full time. I jumped in with a lot of faith and a little bit of focus, and now I'm on the cover of a publication within our industry because I followed the path and I found people along the way that I was grateful for because they brought out my greatness. And so I'm very thankful for them taking a chance and giving me the opportunity to tell my story and then share that story with others, and then to a point where other people are inspired and encouraged to continue on their journey and their craft. And so for that, I'm very thankful for that. Paying the bills. Let's talk about other things I'm thankful for. I'm speaking tomorrow with a local real estate company. So here in Southeast Wisconsin, I do lunch and learns and things of that nature. So I do them pro bono when they're about 45 to 60 minutes because the expectation, or the goal, expectations are not great. The goal is that when I do these free lunch and learns and when I go to conferences, I speak pro bono, that those will eventually lead to the paid gigs, the 4-day or the all-day 4-hour workshops that lead to consulting opportunities, keynotes, and those are the things I really enjoy doing. So here locally, I love coming out 45 minutes, 60 minutes, so we can dive into a little bit deeper than what we do here on the show. Not quite the full 4-hour session when you leave with a vision board, you lead with a great plan of attack. So here locally, Southeast Wisconsin, basically if I can travel there in a car and be back home the same day, work things out, can do it at reduced rates because I want to get the message out. So for your organization, whether you're a chamber or you're a conference, you're a company that has a need and you want a little taste of what could be more, let me know, hit me up, and let's make arrangements for me to come out and share all that I have about the language of leadership. Ultimately, how do we cater our language so that we become the leaders we are destined to be? Let's talk about destiny today. We'll just tackle a small topic, no big deal. Let's talk about the real part of reality. The fact of the matter is everyone's reality is different. We have our biases and our lenses and our perspectives when we walk into this world, right? It's all that stuff we shed over time that allows us to see things more clearly. And I met a lot of people through the years, and they say things along the lines, I don't want you to see me this way. I don't want you to feel that way about this thing. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to project how I feel, what I think about them. And yet they have no control over my lenses. They have no control over my feelings. Hell, as a human, I struggle to have control over my feelings. And I'm never one that wants to control feelings. If you ever listen to me, I'll never talk about self-control. I'll never even talk about your feelings and how they are unjustified. No, the proportionality of the feeling is the feeling consistent with the stimulus. We'll talk about those things because those are conversations you can have with yourself and me and your therapist and whomever to see what that proportionality is or the type of emotional response we're having. And yet it's not about that control. So that self-control, I heard that a lot growing up from my mom. You got to learn to control yourself. Myself is awesome. So I'm not about controlling it. I'm about regulating it. And it's no different than reality. When you want to control other people's reality, often you want to project onto them the result that you want them to have. For example, if you say, hey, I want people to see me in this way. Okay. Do you act in that way? For example, for years, I went by AFW, and the F is not for Francis. It's for Andy fucking Wines. I projected this version of myself. And a couple of years ago, in the conversation I was having with somebody at the time, they said, do you really want to be known for that? Do you want to be known for this loud, obnoxious guy that uses the F word all the time? Or do you want to be known as this person that is sensible and smart and has a unique perspective on the world? And I thought, yeah, I want to be known for that guy, right? If I keep giving people this loud, obnoxious version of me and never this version of me, then I'm creating that reality for them. And so I switched. I rebranded 2 years ago when I wrote my book and I came out with my book. I'm no longer AFW. I was AFW for almost 20 years, going back to high school and the years of partying and the years on the radio. I was AFW. And so I made that conscious choice to change that real part of reality. And now I'm Andy. And that's consistent with this notion that I have of my wounded inner child that Andy was never good enough, right? So I had to be this AFW. I had to be a caricature of myself, taking all the best, most confident parts of myself, loud and bravado and obnoxious, right? Because Andy was not good enough. And once I did the work and realized Andy was always good enough, then all of a sudden I knew I was good enough to walk out in this world as Andy. And now I can have this conversation with you. And even if you listen to the first episodes of this show compared to where I'm at now, I've slowed down my cadence. I've done less projecting and more interacting. I've asked a lot more questions versus demands of people because I'm slowly changing that reality of other people's perspective by changing my own reality, by taking the time to be real, by taking the time to prepare for the show, taking the time to listen to what the audience wants to talk about, to take the time to come here and have an inclusive conversation where we can have dialogue in some way, shape, or form versus me standing in the pulpit of righteousness telling you how to live your life, knife handing, dropping F-bombs in clusters that are unnecessary. And so by changing that, tweaking that, going from AFW to Andy, I've now changed a real part of other people's realities. I told something to someone recently. I said, do different to be seen different. You can tell people all you want about who you are and how you operate and where you're going. They may or may not believe you. As we know, people don't always remember what you tell them or what you did. They remember how they felt. So for me, I can say, oh, I'm Andy. Now you listen to me. And if I tell you I'm smart long enough, you might believe me. Or maybe I say something that's thought-provoking. I ask a question that opens up a place in you that you didn't know you had access to. I make a statement or draw a parallel between two unknown things so that you start to see the world slightly different. I paint a picture of what your reality is versus the reality you want, and you start to bridge that gap. Now I'm not sitting here telling people I'm smart or dumb or whatever the case may be, right? They can pull that themselves. And that also goes with this idea that I'm obnoxious or that I'm offensive. We'll use the analogy of offensive. I was in a relationship for a long time. And the woman I dated said I was offensive, or people would tell me I was offensive. And then she'd say, can you just go somewhere and not offend people? And I'd say, I can say the same thing to two different people. One person's offended and one person's inspired. That's what it comes down to. A couple of weeks ago, I did a 4-hour workshop down in Orlando. And at the end, I go around the room and I say, everybody, tell me the one word, how you feel. And one person was excited, empowered, invigorated. I think I heard one time. Somebody else said they were sad. They just sat through the exact same 4-hour workshop. My goal was not to come out there and have someone feel like they were sad afterwards. And yet that's how they felt. We peeled back a couple layers and we talked about why they were sad. They were sad because the gap of where they wanted to be and where they are during our workshop, it came to fruition. So, ooh, that's interesting. So that individual worked with the rest of their leadership team to figure out, okay, how can we transform this feeling of sad into glad? inspired. Okay, so you didn't get where you're not where you thought you were going to be at 52 years old. All right, where do you want to be at 62? And how do we get there? And in doing so, you're starting to change and shape that reality. So you might be sad today about what progress you made. And tomorrow you make a little bit more progress and now you're happier because you did something different. You chose to be different and now you start to see different because you changed something. At that same workshop 2 weeks ago, there was a gentleman when we went through our goals. We do everything from a big, hairy, audacious goal, which people keep internally and we don't talk about that. We'll let them own that. But we talk about smaller goals, 30-day goals, 60-day goals, 90-day goals. And one of the gentlemen there was talking about weight loss. And he's, I got to be back in shape. And we started with all the reasons why he wasn't in shape and blah, blah. And we boil it down to, okay, what will you do? We did our should, could, can, will exercise. And he got down to, I will meal prep. He texted me 11 days later. He's down 9 pounds, 11 days after I did the workshop. 7 days of meal prepping, he's down 9 pounds because he realized that when I meal prep, I don't have all those snacky snacks. I don't stop on my way home. So all he did is shift. All he did is meal prepped. And now, instead of saying, look at me, I'm not where I want to be. Now, wow, I'm down 9 pounds. I meal prepped. I meal prepped on Sunday. And by the following Sunday, I was down 9 pounds. So no longer does he have this reality of I'm overweight. I can't do it. I eat like crap. No, now he says I meal prep. He has started to shape his reality by changing something real. It starts with the mind. It starts with the thought. What can I do? What will I do? What do you commit to? And then do you follow through on? And your reality starts to change. And as you do that, as you change your reality, as I talk about that offensive language I use sometimes, offending people, you also realize you get in where you fit in. This last weekend, I was talking to Jake. He's my neighbor. He's a family friend of ours. And we were talking about tattoos. And he's got neck tattoos. And I have quite a few tattoos. And I talked to Jake about, every 2 to 3 years, I recycle about 80% of people in my life. 80% of people, 80% of processes. Well, about 20% of people stay in my life beyond a 2 to 3 year cycle. And so if you've been with me for 9 years from now, that means you made it through a couple cycles in my life. And Jake said, I never thought about that with you. You really aren't the same person you were 3 years ago and 6 years ago, because Jake's known me for a while. And Jake worked for me 6 years ago. He worked for me 3 years ago. He worked for me a year ago. He came in and out as time went on. He goes, you're right. You have no problem going where you fit in. I go, absolutely. I am a get in where you fit in. As I evolve, as my reality changes, as what is important to me changes, the people change. When I quit drinking alcohol 2 years ago, the people I hang out with change because I'm going to different places and I'm doing different activities. When I don't use alcohol, I don't go to bars. Okay. The people I knew there, I no longer fit in there. I fit out. And so I keep my happy ass at home. And now I've changed a real part of my reality. And if people don't want to spend time with me because they want to spend time at the bars, okay. My new answer this year to a lot of questions is good. 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 Now let's move on. I accept that reality. And now I move on because what is the greater good here in this situation? And so Jake and I were talking as it related to tattoos. And someone doesn't want to hire me or someone's offended by my tattoos. Okay. They're not my people. Like I talked about a couple weeks ago here on the show about the Cybertruck. If you don't like a Cybertruck, if you don't like the wrap vehicle, if you don't like people that are loud and obnoxious, okay, I'm not your people. I will give you those data points as soon as possible. And then the beautiful thing is there are some rooms that I now fit in because I fit out other places. Last week, I was honored here in the state of Wisconsin as a top 100 CEO with Titan 100. And I showed up in my Cybertruck. I showed up with my tattoos, my t-shirt, and my ball cap. There was 750, 800 people in the room, 2 people wearing hats. I was one of the 2. My father was the other one. He's going to be 69 years old next month. He's been fitting out his entire life. And that's where he lives. That's his place. Because other people's perspective is none of his business. Les Brown, one of my favorite keynote speakers, not even one of my favorite keynote speaker, right? He says, other people's perspective of you has nothing to do with your reality. And so some people having this innate ability, right? My dad chooses not to watch. My mom listens and doesn't care. That's the beautiful thing about both my parents, right? They are very Sigma-minded people. They live their life the way they live it. And they realize, yeah, I'm going to fit into some places and other places I'm not going to fit in. And that's fine because here I am. Talked about a couple of weeks ago, the 6 most powerful sentences. The first one, the most powerful sentence is I am. And then whatever you say after that is the good stuff. So for me, in some rooms, we're right. Camel pants, t-shirt, Cybertruck doesn't fit in. And yet last week, several people, because we're all on the valet line, were like, oh, I saw your truck. It stands out. Good looking. Great. Good job. Good on you. Right. And the people that hated it went away. They don't even bother. Because I also realized with my reality, this is something I proved 2 years ago when I put my book out. I had a lot of naysayers, a lot of keyboard warriors that would come after me on social media. Ever since I put my book out, a lot of them have gone away. Because my reality is this is a hill that I'm willing to die on. I said it, I printed it, I put it out. There it is. It lives forever in the printed words. And so when I do that, those individuals and the cheap seats no longer even squawk. I barely could hear them before, and now they don't even waste their time because they go find a different arena to squawk in. Because I changed my reality. I went from AFW, a guy online that swore and yelled a whole bunch, to Andy, a guy that wrote a book. A guy that now has a podcast every week that people tune into, and we have really good, meaningful, deep conversations. There's not a week that goes by that someone doesn't reach out to me on Facebook or LinkedIn or via email or even text message or phone call to have a conversation with me about what we talked about here today. A year and a half ago, that never happened because that wasn't my reality, because this show wasn't real yet. And that brings me to my final point of changing your reality. When you change the real parts of your reality, you find the people and the places that bring out your greatness. You find people that hone in on that unique ability, as Dan Sullivan talks about in 10X is easier than 2X, that unique ability that you have. Because they're the ones that encourage you. They shape and mold you for better. They say, oh, I like that about you, Andy Wines, and I want more of it. Versus the people that say, ooh, you're offensive. Ooh, you can't say that. Ooh, don't go there. Fuck that. Find the people that bring out your greatness. You start going to the gym, you start working out, great. Guess what? You're going to be around other people that push you. I got a great personal trainer. I've been working out for the last 2.5 years, the longest I've ever worked out consistently in my life at a gym, because I got a trainer that brings out my greatness. I chose to change my reality. My reality used to be, I'm not a gym goer. I'm uncoachable. I'm not going to listen to people. I don't prioritize the gym. I eat whatever I want, right? That was my reality, and it was real. And 2.5 years ago, I decided, you know what? I'm going to go to this gym and give it a try. And I did the fucking thing. I showed up for 2 free sessions. I signed up for 20 more. And then it was 80 and another 80. I'm on my third set of 80. I'll be closing in on 250 sessions here by the time I'm done with this set of 80 sessions I just signed up for a couple weeks back. I changed my reality. And now I spend time with Brian every other week. Brian is my trainer, almost always at night. Brian's my age. Brian has gone through similar challenges that I've gone through in life. And now we have this thing, this fitness thing that we can talk about. It binds us together. He knows more about my social life than most people. I see him twice a week. Hey, Brian, what are you doing this week? Oh, I'm doing this. And we chat. Right? We know about who we're dating. We talk about all those things because I changed my reality. I got rid of those habits like alcohol. It's no longer in my reality because it's not real because I don't do it. And I replaced it by going to the gym and meeting my new friend, Brian. Okay, so I lost friends over here that were not serving my present or my future, and I gained a friend over here. Brian brings out my greatness. The people at Titan 100 bring out my greatness. You, the listener of this show, that comment on my post, that email me, Facebook message me, call me, you bring out my greatness because I did something real to change my reality. My question to you, what is the mountain you're climbing? What is that big, hairy, audacious goal out to the future? What are the milestones to get there? What's a 30, 60, 90-day plan you got in place that you want to achieve? What in your reality can you do in the next 7 days? Real, tangible, smart, singular, measurable, obtainable, relevant, time-bound. What can you do that's real that will change your reality? Tomorrow is gone. Every day up until this point is already in the distant past. And yesterday, rather, I said tomorrow. Yesterday is gone. And tomorrow's not here yet. What can you do today so that tomorrow you're one step closer? When you do that, when you change part of your reality, or something that's real, your reality changes. The reality is a result of the work you put in. You want people to see you different? Put the work in. You want to feel that different about yourself? Put the work in. You want to achieve something you never achieved before? Put the work in. Change the real part of reality. This week and every week, always do the same thing. Do the fucking thing that is real. Tell the fucking world that once you've done it, and then show the fuck up as the person that you're destined to become, not the person you were. When you do that, ladies and gentlemen, you will start to shape and mold your reality, and you will get the things that you are destined to become. You will become the person you are destined to become in this world. So I thank you for being real with me. I thank you for all the ways that you inspire me in my greatness. I am grateful for you this week and next. I'll see you next week.